Okay, so we're gonna do some chest openers today, some work with spinal elongation and opening up the heart. Um, I think everybody can relate a little bit to the constantly flowing tides that are shifting around, especially with school beginning. There's a lot happening for a lot of families, teachers. My girls are both, working with what the current paradigm is, and been talking with my older daughter a lot about loss of what she wants her semester to be, being that school's all online, and trying to make decisions around that, and how um, you know grief and loss is really difficult to accommodate in the heart space, and sometimes we can kind of compress and get bound around grief, and it's a process. It's not something that can easily just quickly pass through. But the one thing that's really beautiful about loss in general is that uh, it just can flow into the unity of all things. That when something's lost, something else is gained, and when we lose an opportunity, we gain another opportunity. When one door closes, another window opens. And sometimes it's difficult to see this. It's hard to see, especially with the current tumultuous times that we're living in, to see what that final stage of grief, of beyond acceptance into a sense of purpose, or why is this happening. This is the more difficult aspect, I think, to reach at the end of the grief. It's not the end of the grief process, one aspect of the grief process. And one of the things I've been thinking a lot about lately in regard to loss in this way, for my kids in particular, but is the sense that it's all connected, that all of this is connected. We are all connected, that everyone is going through the same thing, and that one loss is a different gain. So if you can kind of work with the unity of all things and not allow loss to just feel like loss. There's this great haiku poem I wanted to read to you about this. It's very simple. It's by John Paul Lederach, and he just writes, "How did the earth learn to stay open and accept everything that falls?" And let me read it again. "How did the earth learn to stay open and accept everything that falls?" I think there's a lot of wisdom in this, that if we can allow ourselves to accept all the things that come and all the things that fall, and flow with that, instead of hold on tight to what we want, things become much easier. So how has this impacted you? All the changing forces and the unknowns, are you able to learn to accept everything that falls and still remain open? And our practice can teach us so much about this. So heart opening practices, we're not going to go, huge into a compressed open heart or anything, but just how do you nourish a sense of staying open despite the unknowns? This is just, we're getting a master course in this right now. So let's go ahead and sit up straight and tall, and take a moment to close your eyes and come into some deep rest in the body. Find that sense of surrender into the earth. Let the earth hold what's falling in you. Allow some of that energy in you to drop, to connect into the earth energies, become one. And if you allow yourself to give yourself over to the earth, what rebounds through you? What comes? So with everything that falls, something else rises. There's an ancient song about, all that falls must rise again. I'm not going to sing it for you, but all that falls must rise again. And this is the constant renewal that happens on our breath. It's the constant renewal that happens when the sun rises and sets. It's the constant renewal that's happening right here in this moment for you. So how do you stay open and accept everything that falls? What does it feel like to let the breath rise and fall? Do you restrict the rise? Do you restrict the fall of your breath? Can you free up the diaphragm? Can you have a consciousness around it? Can you consciously surrender and open the body? Can you feel the fortitude and strength that lives within vulnerability in your body? Can you have courage to open the breath up and to let it go? Is there a way for you to relax the shoulders, to free up tension through your skull, your face, to have a sense of ease? Is there a way for your posture to be upright and true without it being forced and compressed upward? So lose the strain. How do you find fluidity amidst openness? So discover that in your vertebrae right now, in the breath. What does it feel like to let the chest expand, let the belly expand, let the pelvis expand? Can you feel the connection of your 3 diaphragms of the breath, the vocal cords becoming soft and open on your inhale, the diaphragm dropping, expanding on your inhale, pelvic floor dropping and expanding on your inhale, and feeling the dance as they open and close with the breath, that our nature is to be fluid, to flow, to not grasp or hold. And this is really the secret of how the earth learns to stay open and accept all that falls, is to stay open and flow. So cultivate this in your practice today. How do you stay open and flow? The breath is our guide. Let's bring our hands together at the heart. Bow in. How can you set an intention for staying open and flowing with what comes? How does that look in your day today? How does that look in your breath? How does that feel in your body? And let's release the hands and come onto our back. Guys, come to lie down. All right, so create some space. Spread your arms and legs wide on the floor and make yourself like spreading a big blanket on the floor. So let your limbs be broad. Let your body rearrange itself in a horizontal plane. Resettle what the spine feels like, what the limbs feel like, the weight of your body dropping, the weight of the back of your head dropping. And as you settle into this posture, go ahead and start breathing deeply again here. What does it feel like to expand and open? What does it feel like to feel the full breath go out? So it's not just about taking it in, but it's also about letting it go. So that interchange, the play, the dance of the breath is what we're looking for. This is the flow of not holding the in-breath, not holding the out-breath, but letting it all be like sand passing through your fingers. Let's start to invite some movement. So stretch your arms overhead, stretch the legs, stretch and lengthen your body. Notice what happens, what changes, what feels nice in this. And then stretch the right side, stretch the left side. Let the hips come offline from each other. Let the shoulders come offline from each other. Just feel the sides of the body. Notice the rib cage, the jutting out that you might feel in the front, the back bend in the back. What does it feel like in your nervous system when you have a slight back bend like this? And then release the arms down at your sides. And just play very gently with lifting the arms up over your head, feeling the changing shape of your rib cage and spine. Exhaling to release your arms down at your sides. Hopefully you have enough room over your head for a full arm extension. And just a few times. It's so subtle, but just notice the changing shape in your body. Notice the changing shape of your breath. All right, pick up the feet. Bend your knees, feet flat on the ground, wide on the mat, and windshield wiper your knees. And add in the arms when you're ready. So as you stretch the knees left, stretch the right arm out like you're reaching for something, and then go the other direction. Just feel the connection of your hips to your shoulders, a sense of the spinal elongation at the same time as rotation. How is your breath? Let the head rock back and forth in opposition to the knees. And now we're going to take both arms, lift them up, drop them over to one side as the knees go the other way, arms straight up, and drop them over the other way. So just feeling the warming in your spine, especially your thoracic spine. Let there be some mobility in there. And then stretch your arms and legs wide on the floor, starfish your body, open things up. Exhale, knees to your chest, chin up, close things up. One more time, inhale and expand. Exhale, draw it in. Release your head down, keep your knees in, circle a few times. Stay with the flow of the breath. Remember that we're not holding, we're not guarding. We're staying in the flow of the breath as best as we can through our practice. Circle the other way. See if you can keep a light on, in the room of the breath the whole time we're practicing as best as you can. And if you lose the breath, right knee into the chest, left leg long on the floor. If you lose the breath, that's okay. Just come back over and over, come back. Roll the ankles. Feel the flow of movement through your joints. Wake up the bottom of your feet. Enjoy your bare feet. Wiggle your toes around. Wake things up. Say hi to your feet. And then change sides. Left knee into the chest. Right leg long on the floor. Are you still breathing well? Circle and sway and swivel those feet and ankles. Getting some sensing in the bottom of your feet. Imagine the bottom of your feet were as sensitive as your palms of your hands. And then bring that right knee into the chest, two knees in. So bring your knees apart from each other and swing them back in. So you can do semicircles, full circles, any trajectory of movement that is nice on your hip joints. Notice if you have some snap, crackle, pops, and just feel into your topography. What are your hip joints feeling like today? All right, great. And then one more time, starfish, open your body, expand and lengthen. Exhale, knees into the chest, head up, and then roll over onto your side. So if you are working with grief on any level or just trying to deal with the unknowns of the day-to-day living that we're all experiencing, let's move into some cat-cows. Staying in the flow, staying in the present, staying in the flow will allow these things to move through you instead of, like little eddies in the river that get stuck and swirl around and get mucky. We're going to stay in the center of the river. Find the flow of breath moving through your spine. Notice each vertebrae. Try to take one round of the cat-cow to just feel the articulation of each vertebrae as much as you can. Isolate, feel each one. And then after doing that for a round, see what it feels like to go back into the whole, to feel the whole spine move into flexion, to feel the whole spine move into extension. And then feel free to move things around. So don't have an agenda, just have freedom in the body. Find what movement wants to happen. How's your neck feeling? Your shoulders, your hips. Is there anything specific that feels really nice that you kind of hang out in for a little while? Let the body open and enjoy the openness. So especially if you've been sitting all day at a desk or, just haven't moved much yet today, or maybe you've moved a lot and you just need some recovery. So just see what feels good. Curl the toes under. We're going to settle back towards child's pose, the weird child's pose with our feet curled under. So it's not as relaxing. But once again, open up the bottom of the feet. Play with the idea of trying to touch your inner ankle bones to each other. And then come back up onto all fours. Smack your feet on the ground. Wake the tops of your feet up. And then let's move into a twist. Lift the right arm up in the air. Exhale and slide that shoulder down. Are you breathing? So even as twisting kind of just changes the breath patterns a little bit, stay with the rhythm of expanding the back body, the lower ribs, everything you can find. Inhale, reach that arm all the way up to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground. Second side, lifting that arm up. Bring the arm through. Gaze toward the floor, shoulders away from the ears, feeling the breath. What's here? And then inhale, reaching the arm back to the sky, hand down onto the ground. Spread out your feet, spread out your hands, and find your way into dog pose. Spine gets longer, root through the base of your hands. So find the 4 points of your palms, find the 4 points of your feet. Okay, so your heels may not come anywhere near the floor, but that doesn't mean you can't feel the 4 points of your feet. So root downward. Lift the sit bones upward. Feel free to move. So fascia likes movement. If you want to warm up by pedaling, swaying, swishing, any kind of movement that's working for you, but find your breath within that. Notice if you're a breath holder. Are you, I am. Sometimes I notice I'm just holding my breath. And it doesn't matter how many years I keep working on it, sometimes it still happens. So be vigilant about just observing and gently guiding your breath back to flow. And then walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees, wag the tail, roll around your shoulders, move your neck. Look how close you are to your feet. So spread out the bones of your feet. Make friends with them. They support you all day long. Inhale for a halfway lift. Thigh bones come back, spine extends. Exhale and melts back down again. When we do it the second time, hands at the tops of your thighs. Press your femur bones back, shin bones forward. Use that anchor point of your hands to help you lengthen the spine and feel the space between your vertebrae. Exhale and melt back down. Again, push off your feet and round up or roll up or press up, however you like to get up. Reach the arms to the sky. A little bit of a back bend here. If you're dizzy, just take your moment to squeeze your midline. Breathe. All right. And then as you're ready, let's go ahead and release the arms out to the sides. Press your palms straight out to the sides. Drop the shoulders, turn the eyes of the elbows up toward the sky. Feel that nerve sensation, and let's just roll the wrists around a few times while we're here. And then start to do, I feel like this is old school gym class, but let's do it. So just some circles here in your arms. Just warming up the shoulders a little bit. Drop the shoulders down away from the ears. Notice if you have difficulty in one side or the other. And then as you're doing this, change directions. If you were doing, whatever way you're doing, switch your circles the other way. Find your breath, stabilize through your core. Try not to be, unstable in your lower body. Yield, bend your knees slightly, a little soft bend. Yield your breath all the way to your feet. And then inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Exhale and fold in half. Inhale for a halfway lift again. Tops of your thighs pressing back. Exhale and melt back down. Step your right foot forward, left foot back. Come into a lunge. Take a moment, find your breath, find your flow. And as you are ready, once you get settled in this position, let's start to move. So squaring the hips, relaxing the head down. It doesn't matter which way you're breathing, inhaling or exhaling on a bent knee, just breathe. Find yourself in the flow of a steady river, right in the middle of the river. What would it feel like to float down a river where even though there might be rocks in the way, can you feel the sense that you're just going with the flow? Next time you get to straight legs, pick up your toes, tuck your chin in. Do that a couple of times, bending the knee. When the legs square, lift the toes, tuck your chin. Come into a lunge, put your back knee down onto the ground. Just hang out here for a moment. Feel the hip flexors start to open. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Breathe deeply. If your knee is ever not comfortable on the floor, there's a million ways to modify everything. So take your time to make your practice serve you instead of you serving your practice. This is for you. Okay. Take a deep breath in, reach the arms up to the sky, hug in, front knee, heel and back knee supporting you. Feel the finding of the inner thighs hugging toward the midline so the abductors are working for this posture. Deep breath, look up, see what it feels like to extend, and then find a little bit of twist here. Hand on your knee, other elbow or forearm on the knee, and find a big open twist. Feel the hip flexors stretch on that back leg as you extend the spine. Drop the shoulders and open up the collarbones, still finding the midline with your adductors. Still finding the support of the front heel and the back knee. And then release, hands down onto the ground. Walk your back foot forward. Now your two legs probably feel pretty different, so take a moment to melt into Uttanasana. Inhale for a halfway lift, thigh bones pressing back. And then exhale and melt back down. Let's change sides. Take your right foot back. Your left foot is forward now. Okay, so coming into a lunge, extending the heart, finding your breath. And when you're ready, let's find some movement. So squaring the hips, doesn't matter if your legs go straight or not. Feel free to tuck the chin in. Getting some extension through the legs. Deep breaths. Where are you breathing? Are you staying in the flow of your breath? Try the experience of lifting your toes on the straight leg variation, tucking the chin, getting that little sensation, maybe it's a big sensation, through the back of the body. All right. And then when you're ready, go ahead and place your back knee down onto the ground. Stabilize yourself. Try not to fall. So we're hugging the front heel and back knee, hugging the midline with your inner thighs. Reach the arms up and extend through the spine. Maybe look up. Challenge your balance a little bit here. Try not to compress the back of the neck. Drop the shoulder blades down. Breathing. And place your hand on your thigh. Cross your forearm or elbow to the knee, whatever feels best to you. Extend through the spine. Okay, drop open the collarbones. Spread them wide. Shoulder blades find each other. On the back. Feel the hip flexor stretch on that back leg. Still hugging toward the midline. Can you twist a little bit more with the breath? Great, and then go ahead and come on out of there and bring your hands back down onto the ground. Lift your back foot up and we're going to put our hands onto the floor and step back to a plank. Stabilize your torso here, find your breath. Stay in the flow even though you have to solidify a bit. Stabilize. Flow and stability can happen simultaneously. And put your knees down, slowly lower yourself gently to the floor. Bring your forearms out in front of you. You can either turn your arms out or have them straight for Sphinx Pose. Extend up through the spine, stabilize your back. So all the things you know about stabilizing your low back. So try not to just squeeze your butt. That's a first thing that a lot of people do. See what it feels like to wrap the 360 around your core. Of course, your glutes are going to be working, but try not to compress the sacrum with them. All right, and then exhale and melt back down. Roll over onto your side. So I'll go onto my right side first. Find your breath. Okay. Come and rest for a minute. We're just going to do a little bit of clamshells to strengthen our outer hips. So come with your knees together, and then we're going to inhale and lift the knee away from the other knee, like opening up a clamshell. You can do whatever you want with the arms. You can keep your hand on your hip. You can keep your hand on the ground. You can put your hand in the air. Try not to rock your whole torso, where your torso is doing the work.
Stabilize your torso and only open your leg. Deep breath. We're going to do a little bit of work on one leg shortly. So just trying to wake up a lot of those internal muscles that help stabilize you when you're standing, as well as support your sacroiliac joints. I have no idea how many we've done. I'm always terrible at counting. Okay, now we're going to release the knees back, rest for just a moment. We're going to straighten the top leg so it's in line with the rest of our spine, and our other leg's going to stay bent on the floor. You might need some stability with your hand. We're going to inhale. Ooh, I'm hitting my furniture, so hopefully you have space. We're going to inhale and lift and drop. Now you don't have to come all the way to the floor. You can just hover low, a few inches off the floor, and lift up. So this is a lot of work for the IT band, for the tensor fasciae lata, for the gluteus medius. There's a lot of good muscles that you're activating in here. So breathe your way into this pose. Try to stay in the flow of your breath. So even though there's isolations happening and some work, can you feel the connection of the full body through the breath? That this isn't just an isolation, it's a full body movement. Okay, now hover with that leg in the air for a moment. Lift the other arm up. You might be fatigued, that's a good thing. Okay, and then release the arm and leg down, and let's change to the other side. Okay, so whichever side you were doing first, we're gonna go the other way. So knees are bent. You can support your head with a blanket or just with your arm, and we're gonna start clamshelling on this side. So once again, try not to let your torso do the rocking. See if you can keep yourself pretty neutral and just letting the knees open up and then close up, like opening a clam. And then closing a clam. And experiment with closing slowly. So remember, eccentric contractions, the breaks, are just as valuable in the body as concentric contractions. So sometimes, you can go up and then fast down. And we lose a little something when we go fast like that. So just go slow both on the way up and on the way down. Are you staying in the flow of your breath? Are you isolating in the sense that you're stable? Okay, that we're not letting the body be loosey-goosey. But even though there's deep work in one little area of the body, can you let the breath teach you that this is still a full body sensation? Your body is stabilizing for this action. Okay, I feel about the same, so hopefully you do too. I have no idea how many we've done. And we're gonna go ahead, I'm just moving so I can straighten my leg. The bottom leg is going to stay bent. The top leg is going to come down onto the floor, and we're going to do some lifts. So your toes don't have to turn up or down. Try to keep the toes neutral, so we're just in a neutral plane. You don't have to come all the way to the floor. This is kind of a big movement in the pelvis to bring your foot all the way to the floor. You can just hover a few inches from the floor and lift up from there. Once again, staying in the flow of the breath. Staying in the flow of the breath. Now, it doesn't matter what kind of exercise you do, whether you're, a daily yogi, or you bike ride, or hike, or walk, or swim, or garden, or jump, or box, or anything else you do. All of these things will be aided by stability in your pelvis. Okay, let's go ahead and relax. Bring your knees onto your back, bring your knees to your chest, and just rock a little bit. Let that dissolve away from you. Find your breath. Inhale to a starfish. Open your body up. Exhale to knees to chest. And then roll over onto your side and come to dog pose. Lengthen through your spine, taking your breath in, taking your breath out. Walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. Fold a little bit. Wag your tail if you want. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Climb up. Stand. Come to Shavasana. Find your breath. Interlace your hands behind you. Open up the chest. What would it feel like to chest breathe here? To just feel that upright, strong, open chest sensation. And then relax your arms, unwind the interlace. Deep breath in, cactus, open your arms now, or arms out, whichever's comfortable. Feel the chest expand, and then relax. Palms together at your heart. How do you have 360 dimensionality around the chest opening, the heart opening? Side bodies, back body, front body, all open. The spine is long, lots of space between your vertebrae. We're going to root into the right foot. Go ahead and pick up your left knee and hug it in. I forgot to do a stretch I wanted to do on the floor, so hopefully this will be okay. Being that we haven't done any quad stretch, let's just do a quad stretch. You can hold on to something if you need to. Grab your foot and just stretch your quad. So tailbone descends, pubic bone lifts. Try not to stick the hip out. Keep stable. Finding your breath. And then let's release that foot down onto the ground and change sides. Bring your other knee up. Give it a good squeeze. Get used to balancing on your one foot. Open the breath. Can you root your feet, both of them, even the one in the air? What does it feel like? What does your foot on the ground feel like right now? Can you find the floor? Can you descend even lower than the floor? Is the knee soft? Can you breathe into the bottom of your feet? And then relax, grab your foot. You can hold something, a wall, a piece of furniture, just stretching the quad, a classic quad stretch. So pull your heel close to your buttocks, knee descends. So when you're doing this, lift your pubic, try not to arch your back, try not to be like this in the pose. Stabilize. So descend the tailbone, lift the pubic bone, feel the heart lift, the collarbone spread. Finding your breath as you bring your heel wherever close it goes. And if you can't reach, you can always wrap a strap as well. And then relax. Go ahead and breathe here. We'll come back to that. Take a deep breath in, reach the arms up in the air. Exhale and float forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step your left foot back, come to a lunge. Extend through the hip flexors, find the spine. Inhale, rise up, crescent lunge. What are you doing to protect the back? What are you doing to stay in the flow of the breath? Spin and turn, open up into Virabhadrasana. Warrior two. So take your time here. Feel free to move in this posture. You can do some flowing. Sometimes flowing if you're having trouble with the breath flow. Sometimes bringing the body into flow can teach the breath to stay in the flow. So feel free to move around in any way that you want to, and then find the stability when you can. Hands can be anywhere you want them to be. So there's lots of places for you to stay open in the chest without straining the shoulders. So if you do have some shoulder issues that prevent you from having your arms up or out, find a different plane that still expands through the heart. Breathing here. Feel the work in those muscles. The clamshells opened up. Can you feel the jar lid in your front foot? So the heel, the right heel spins left. The right toes spin the other way. All right, go ahead and come on up. We're going to just flip-flop between the two sides. So turn your feet the other way. Find your breath. Deep inhale. Exhale. And maybe you want to have some flow here. Maybe you want to move. Full breaths in. Full breaths away. When you're ready, find your way into Virabhadrasana. Remember the knees. You can be in a very light bend if your knee is not liking lunges. There's so much you can do. Always remember also, so Tom, I know you're here. If you need stability for that knee, go ahead and you can always have your knee against a wall or a chair with a block to help you stabilize that joint. Find your breath. All right, and then go ahead and come on out of the pose. Turn back to the center. Find your breath. Feet are pointing straight. Extend the spine. Feel the roots of your feet rise up through your crown. Reach the arms to the sky. Deep breath in and away. Turn to the right side again. This time we're coming into Parso Kanasana. Elbow on the knee. Arm can come up or not. Open the chest. Deep breaths. Get into the movement of your hips, the stability there. Find the expansion. Can you drop the shoulder blades away from the ears? Do you still have the ability to have the collarbones broad instead of shrunk? All right, go ahead and come on up. Turn your feet the other way. Parso Kanasana to the left. Bend your knee. Let your elbow rest on the knee. Any support you need for your knees, any support you need for your shoulders. There's so many ways. Always feel free to ask me if you're not sure how to stabilize something. Reach the arm if you want. Find your breath. Find the flow. Stability and flow simultaneously. Can you feel the working of the muscles in your glutes, under your glutes? All right, go ahead and come on up and out of here. One more pose to each side, triangle pose. So notice how different it is when we come from one side, kind of ping pong back and forth between the two sides. I like doing it that way. I don't know how you feel, but I think it's nice to kind of have little bits of symmetry constantly. Turn your head, look up if it feels good. Turn your head forward if it doesn't feel good. Stay grounded and rooted through the back heel. Open up through your spine. Notice if you're rounded on one side. See if you can stay even through the two side bodies. How's the knee on the front leg? Is it able to relax a little bit? Can you stay rooted through the bottoms of your feet? Is the spine as long and spacious as you can find it to be? Is the breath flowing as deeply as you can make it? Both on the inhale and the exhale. Come on up. Let's turn to the other side. So remember, the pelvis tips in this pose. It's not like warrior pose or Parso Kanasana where the pelvis stays balanced. Feel the femur bone lift up into the hip joint and prevent yourself from hyperextending this knee. You want to have a nice neutral knee. The roots of your feet are going down. The spine is growing. The breath is flowing. Notice if your shoulders tend to roll. Drop the shoulder blades back, broaden the collarbones, extending the spine. Can you stretch the lumbar spine just a little bit longer in space? All right, great. And then go ahead and come on up. Turn to the front, or actually the back of your mat probably, and come into crescent lunge. On this side, second side, left leg is forward, reaching the arms up to the sky, finding any variation of arm movements. Try not to overdo the arch. Feel the support of your core. Breathe deeply. All right. When you're ready, come to a plank and step your foot back. Hold steady here. Straight line with the body, shoulders away from the ears. Deep breath in, flow. Deep breath away. Okay, let's come down to the floor, however you get down there safely. Let's find our way into Cobra Pose. Before you lift up, stabilize. Core is engaged, glutes are engaged, thighs are engaged, everything's engaged. Inhale and lift up only to the place where your body can stabilize. Notice the low back. Exhale and lower yourself back down. Put your hands underneath your forehead. Take your feet wide on the mat. Turn your toes down toward the floor. Kneecaps down toward the floor. Lift just your legs up. Feel those similar muscles. Stabilize through your core. Don't lift too high. Feel the stabilization in your low back. Exhale and melt. Pick up your feet and windshield wiper your knees. Finding the breath. Okay, grab onto the feet. Flex your feet. So you do not have to go anywhere. You can stay right here and just work with the stabilization of your core. Perhaps you lift your chest up off the floor a little bit. Perhaps your thighs come too. So go into as deep as you want of the variation of Dhanurasana. Find your diaphragm, breathe into it. Flow of breath. Stable to your low back. Open the shoulders, open the chest. Spine is as long as it can be. And then exhale and release. Turn your head one way or the other. Windshield wiper your knees. Finding the breath. Breathe into the back of your body. Three-dimensionality of the breath. Feel the flow. As you're ready, come back up onto all fours. Swish and sway. Anything that feels good. Maybe child's pose feels good. Maybe that's too deep. So you decide what feels right in your body to release from the back bend. And then find your way to dog pose. Extending the spine. Deepening the breath. Walk your feet forward. Bend your knees. Let the back rest. Feel free to wag your tail, shake. And then we're going to stand on up. Back to our balance. Standing on your right foot. Let's go ahead and reach back and grab our left foot. Now, if you can't reach, use a strap around your ankle. If you need support, hold walls or furniture. Okay, so find what you need to do. The tailbone descends toward the floor. The pubic bone lifts toward the navel. Okay. When you are situated and ready, reach the right arm up in the air, and we're going to kick into a dancer posture. So remember, there's no destination. There's no destination. You do not have to be way down here in the pose. Matter of fact, this is often what happens. Let's try to keep the pelvis square to the floor, the chest, or to wherever you're facing. Keep the chest square to whatever you're facing. Find the breath. Let the quad stretch, the hip flexors open. Keep the chest broad. Protect the back. How's your knee you're standing on? Can you soften it a little bit? How's your focus? Can you breathe in the flow? Okay, and then come back. 2 feet on the ground. Feel the values. Drop down, rise up. Root to rise. Feel the diaphragm in the very bottom of your feet. Give way to the earth. Yield. Now stand upright and be true. Spread out the collarbones. Try not to falsely push the chest forward. Just have the chest open. Invite. Invite the flow. Let's all turn our hands out for a moment. Feel the action on the shoulder blades. Find your breath. We're going to root into the other foot and then pick up. All right, so now we're standing on the left. Grab onto the right or use a strap. Find your breath. And as you're ready, change the arm. Lift it up in the air. Take a breath. Kick your foot. And it does not matter how deep you go. You can go deep in this posture. You do not have to go deep in this posture. You can back away to whatever place is good for you. Try not to open the hip up. See what you can do to keep the hips and shoulders square to the front of your mat, no matter how deep into the posture you go. Can you feel those muscles in your glutes standing, in your standing leg holding you? All right, release. And come out of there. Feel your feet. Breathe, yield into the bottom, come back up through. Yield into the bottom and come back up through. Okay. Inhale, take a deep breath. Arms swinging around. Interlace your hands behind your back. Float forward. Arms stretching open. And then release the hands down onto the ground. Step your left foot back and come into a lunge. Are you still in the flow? Where's your breath? All right, let's come on up and turn to the side. Have enough room. We're going to come into Artichandrasana. Have a block. Okay. So we're going to find our way first into Parso Kanasana, or however you like to get into this posture. I never have enough room here to do this. So we're going to pick up into Artichandrasana, half moon pose. Arms coming up in the air, soften the knee you're standing on. Feel the work in the hips. Feel the work to stabilize your low back. Spread open your chest, heart open, long spine, crown to tail. Feel yourself in the flow. And then a big giant step back to triangle pose. I always run out of room. And then let's go and do the second side when you come on up, okay? So you can come at this from a couple of ways. Some people like to start in triangle pose and push up. Some people like to start in Parso Kanasana. So however you like to begin, make sure that your foot that you're going to stand on stays straight and doesn't turn. We're going to hop up, look at your foot, make sure it didn't turn. The block under your hand does not have to be in line with your foot. It can be off to the pinky toe side of your leg. Open the chest. You can put your foot on furniture or a wall. You can put your back against the wall. There's lots of ways to support yourself in this pose. Find your breath. Find the long, long spine. See what it feels like to have this femur bone steady, and try your best to not turn toward the floor, but open yourself up to wherever you naturally go. Breathe into the length of your spine. Stay in the flow of your breath, even if your body's all over the place. If you're falling and wobbling, don't worry. Stay in the breath. All right, and then when we're ready to come back down, take a giant step back the way you came. Okay, now we're going to repeat this, and you have a choice this time to come into Shavasana, which is the bound variation of Artichandrasana. So it looks like this. When you come up into the pose, you can stay here, and a little hack is to bring your knee toward your chest and grab your ankle if you can't reach it, and then come back into Shavasana where you're holding on to the ankle. So this obviously is a little bit more challenging. Let me show you from the side. Let's see. Try to not do this. I can't tell if you can see anything in my body from this angle, but I'm really overarching my back. Try to stay stable so that you're still working with not being in this, but bringing in the stability of the neutral pelvis. Okay, so find your breath. If you can't bind, don't bind. No biggie. Stay with the flow. Breathe. Great. And then find your way out of there. And notice if you're like good riddance, or if you're like, oh, I love that. So, notice if you have trouble with accepting all that's falling down. Because literally this pose is your body falling down sometimes, right? So how do we stay open and let everything that falls fall? Let's find the second side. Come into Artichandrasana. Okay, so find your foot. Don't let it get all wonky. Feel the posture. Bend your knee. Grab onto your foot. Make sure the leg you're standing on does not become hyperextended. Make sure you're not overarching the back. Tailbone stretches toward the knee in the air. Pubic bone lifts toward the navel. The chest is broad and free without compressing the shoulder blades in. Feel the back body breathe. Stay in the flow, even though you are falling down. Stay open, stay flowing, even if you're falling. Even if the fall is that you can't do it, that you can't bind, which is really common. It's a hard pose to do. All right, let's come on out of the pose. find your way back to dog pose. Take your hands onto the ground, take your legs back, and enjoy 4 points of contact on the ground. Enjoy the head below the heart, the fullness of the spine, the deepness of the breath. Now we get to decide here whether you want to come into pigeon pose or reverse pigeon pose. If you need support, find your blankets, take support. If you're on your back, then chances are you don't need support. Remember, you can hold, if you're on your back, you can hold behind your thigh, or you can hold the front of your shin. So you decide the variation that feels best to you. If you're in pigeon pose, maybe support, maybe grab a block and have your head on the block if that feels nice to your body. And here's your opportunity to let the diaphragm, the spine be soft and gentle. To feel the deep stretch in your hip and stay in the flow. So when you meet an edge, whether it's the edge of a stretch or the edge of a tolerance of any kind, how do you expand your window of tolerance? So breath helps with this. The flow of breath, the staying in the flow will help you increase your window of tolerance for uncomfortableness, whether it's the uncomfortable with the unknown, the uncomfortableness around what is falling, what is being lost, what is being gained. Let's go ahead and swing that leg if you're in pigeon pose around, or maybe you prefer to go into dog pose. If you're on your back, flip to the other side or switch to the other side. Maybe you're doing pigeon pose on one side and reverse pigeon pose on the other side. So second side, however you're going to be in that pose, find something delicious, right? There's gotta be something good about opening your hips, even if it's painful. So go to your window of tolerance. Try not to go beyond your window of tolerance, because if you can't breathe, you can't expand your window of tolerance. So if you trap yourself, you actually shrink your window of tolerance if you push beyond your boundaries, because then either safety, fear, these things start to get bound up. So if you go just to the edge of your tolerance and breathe, the window of your tolerance will expand naturally with patience. Things take time. When your body feels safe, when your mind feels at ease, when your breath is flowing, your body will release into deeper expansiveness, and your window of tolerance for discomfort will grow. Can you breathe into the sides of your ribs, the back of your ribs, the front of your ribs? Is your diaphragm easy? Is your neck relaxed? Can you soften the muscles around your face? All right, we're going to come out of there however you like to come out of the pose. We're going to come on to our back. Bring your knees to your chest. Rock a little bit. Grab onto your strap if you have one. If not, you can just grab the back of your legs. Lift 2 legs in the air. Extend the spine. Femur bones back. Long, long spine. Okay. And then put your feet on the floor. Let's take a twist. Right, hips go right, knees up, drop left. Take a breath. Now, if you want to have a stretch in the outside of the hip, you can always straighten the top leg and grab on, keep the knees together and grab onto the shin or the big toe. You can also not do that and just keep both knees bent. Deep breath in and away. Inhale and lift your knees. Come back to neutral. Breathe at neutral. And then find your way to the other side. Hips go left, knees go right. Now, as you are in this posture, feel free to stretch the top leg so the knees stay together. You can hold the big toe or the calf or shin somewhere. You don't have to do this. You can do the traditional twist and just keep the knees bent. Move the hip away from the shoulder. Stay in the breath. Stay in the flow of the breath. All right, come back out of there. Bring your knees to your chest. Happy baby pose. Hold on to your feet. Feel free to rock. Drop the knees close to the ribs. Be gentle. Be easy. And then we're going to find Shavasana, however that looks to you. If you want to put your legs up on a couch or a chair or on a bolster or blankets, you can do that. If you want to be on the floor, you can do that. Do you want your limbs far or close? So as you choose how you're going to be in space, once you get comfortable with the body where it wants to be, and you kind of work out the kinks, do what you can to surrender and release the body down. Stay in the flow. So how do you stay open and let all that needs to fall away right now fall away? Give yourself up. Give your body up. Stay in the breath.
Begin to deepen your breathing again. Feel your body flow into the melting sensation. Give yourself over to the earth. How did the earth learn to stay open and accept everything that falls? Let's slowly move. Start to wiggle, stretch. Come onto your side. However you like to come out of Shavasana. There's no rush. As you find yourself coming upright, take a moment to feel the flow of your breath again, to feel the flow of your connection to the earth, to all that's around you, the unity of all things. Nothing's lost or gained, just changed. Let's offer this mutable energy, this flowing energy outward. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.